Hey there YouTube, welcome to British Army update number 3, I believe. Quite a small one this time. Basically we're talking literally just a bunch of command figures. Again, I've been pretty ill this last month to 6 weeks, so I haven't been able to paint quite as well as I've been able to normally. So let's get started. We'll start with the Major and his assistant. So let's bring them in, like so. Okay, these are Warlord figures, and we'll start with the Major himself. So quite a nice command officer type figure here. Definitely crying the rank of Major more than Captain. And you know me by now, I kind of quite like having a Major and a Captain available for swap out command figures. But then this guy could be proxied for an even higher rank if you really need one for an objective or something. You can see that he's kitted out in his officer's webbing with his binocular case there, and his Webley revolver on the side there, and he's got his classic British officer's pipe there. You can see that he's got some information on his clipboard here, and you can see that he's actually got a page folded back over, so I made sure that I kind of painted that in. And you can see that again he's got a sort of a classic British officer's style moustache, and he does look quite sort of quite regal. Yeah, he came out pretty good, and when I first saw this figure I wasn't too fussed about it, but as it painted up I kind of fell more and more in love with it, and I really do quite like him now. You can see there the little pouch just above his, or just to the side of his pipe there, is his ammo pouch for his revolver. So that is the Major. Next up, this is kind of a dual role figure. For now, he'll be classed as his assistant, but he could always be proxied for an extra spotter because he's wearing a radio pack. But I also thought that he'd make a good assistant because he is actually wearing a radio pack. Because it's not too uncommon to have a radioman in a command section. So this guy could be his personal link to HQ. Again, this is another Warlord figure from the basic command blister, and again a really nice figure. His rifle on his shoulder there. The British radio pack with this sort of canvas attachment to the main radio pack. Perhaps that's for night work. There's the controls to the radio actually within there, and his bedroll tied to the top, and his insignia, which is a transfer, by the way. These transfers, I really do like them. They save you a lot of time painting, but they are real buggers to try and sit on the arm properly. I use decal fix and it doesn't seem to make any difference. They hardly stick at all, and when they do stick, there's always one side, or sometimes both sides decide not to sort of stick down, and I have to go in after they've dried and try and somehow stick them down. And I've even done things as drastic as using a little bit of watered down PVA and a very thin brush, and I just literally slide the brush down the side of the transfer that's not sticking, and then push it down with some tweezers, and that does seem to do the trick, but it's very, very fiddly and a pain in the rear end. Okay, let's go for the next. Let's go for the Captain, and his sort of proxied and assistant. This guy probably won't stay this guy's assistant, but he is for now. So here we have the Captain, and he has actually got, this guy's actually, I believe he's modelled on some kind of Victoria Cross recipient, and he came with the British Forces book if you order it directly from Warlord, because you always get like a unique miniature with them. And even though I brought all my other army books from other places, for some bizarre reason I couldn't actually find the British book anywhere apart from in digital form, so I decided to splash out that little bit more. Plus I really do like this figure, so in the end I was quite happy to pay that little bit more and get this really cool figure here. Now we all know that late war British weren't issued Thompsons because they were issued Stens, but that's not to say that people had them. I mean, I believe Canadian regiments had them, but as far as British go, they weren't very common. But this guy is somebody special, and he has earned his Thompson, so that's why I decided to use him. And I really do like this guy. It's nice to have an officer in a fighting pose for a change. You can see his 3 pips to denote him as a captain. And his officer's webbing, of course, with his revolver, his ammo pouch, his binocular case, and of course on the rear his water bottle, although it's on the other side to where it normally is. And yeah, he's a really nice figure, this guy. Getting ready to throw a Mills bomb. So that's the captain. And next up we have another assistant stroke proxy radio operator, spotter type guy. This guy, another figure from the command pack. It's actually a really nice pack, the British command pack. I really do like every figure that was in it, and we've got lots of bits of fuzz on him for some reason. So I'll try and get a good focus here. This guy is a little bit chubby faced, but he's got his portable version of the radio. He's got his normal British kit, his cup of tea cup, his bedroll, gas mask pouch, and looks like this guy had to give up one of his rifle pouches for his radio, although no, I think he has actually. It could be hiding behind there, because I don't think they had to actually replace it. It just kind of went over their shoulder. But yeah, another really nice figure, and I love the way his shovel, his general purpose shovel, is actually put in behind his backpack, which is a place where a lot of them used to carry them, and something that you can't really do that easily with the plastic British infantry. So yeah, that's the captain's assistant stroke another spotter if needed. But like I say, all those types of figures can be swapped out. He could end up being the major's assistant. Okay, next up, the final 2 for this really short update, and I'll bring them down together. It's basically a spotter and the medic. So let's start with the spotter here. This guy will be the free spotter that the British forces get. I really like this figure. Again, he's from the command pack, and you can see that he is very low on kit. He literally has a bandolier of Sten magazines and his water bottle, and that is it. This guy, although I suppose he might possibly have a pistol belt hidden under his Sten thing there, his Sten mags, or the Sten mag carrier, and of course he's got his Sten draped over his waist. And looking through a pair of binoculars, perfect for a spotter. and you can see this guy's actually got one of those leather jerkins on, and I kind of came up with quite a cool sort of colour match to it. I think I was looking at the reference materials, and it's kind of a sort of a corky type leather, you know, much brighter or much lighter colour than the British uniform. And basically what I did was I used a sort of a base colour of German camo black brown, and then I basically went over it with cork brown, and then kind of you know, gave it a shade of or a wash of shade, and then went back over it with a sort of slightly lighter version of cork brown, and it came out looking really, really nice. So that is the spotter. And finally we have the medic, and this is another pretty decent figure, again from the command pack, and you can see that this guy's a medic. He is carrying his stretcher, and again this guy has a poncho on. You can see that I've just, as far as medical things go, I've literally just put a medical sign on his gas mask pouch, because of all his other pouches, that's the only one that kind of looks as if it would be filled full of medical gear. I know that British medics at the time weren't really the same as sort of like the equivalent of American combat medics. They kind of are more sort of stretcher bearers. You know, they come in, evacuate the casualty, and perhaps try and stop the bleeding or whatever, or put some bandages on him, and then basically scoot him off to the field hospital. Not quite the same guys as an actual combat medic, but I could be wrong. I mean, that's what I believe at the moment. So this guy's kind of, you know, he's got his little bag of medical gear to help patch somebody up, but his primary job is to just get them onto the stretcher and get them back to the field hospital or a medical post. So again, you can see this guy has the leather jerkin on, and again I used that same sort of technique. Came out really well. And his medical Red Cross there is actually a transfer from the British Army transfer sheet. I basically just cut it down, painted a white stripe on his arm, and then stuck the actual sort of Red Cross element on there. It did unfortunately split, so I did have to go in with a little bit of I believe it's Mephiston red, which is a Citadel colour, and just dab in that little crack of space between the Red Cross. But it came out looking really cool. Very happy with it. I love the way his stretcher turned out. It was kind of a throw up between painting it khaki or going for sort of this sort of olive drab type colour, and in the end I decided to go for olive drab, and I'm kind of glad I did. I think it looks really cool. So that is the medic, and that is the end of this update. Like I said, it's a very small update, just 6 figures. Next up on the books, I'm not 100% sure. Like I say, I'm kind of getting to that point where I've just got a whole heap of infantry to start doing again, because I literally have, I believe I've got the Vickers team, another box of British infantry, and the Cromwell, and that would be the end of the British Army. So it doesn't sound like I've got much to do, but those infantry boxes take time. We all know how much I love putting those plastic guys together, and they do take a bit of time to do. So I may well either do my Cromwell or my Vickers team next, and we will see what happens. So until next time, please feel free to subscribe if you haven't, and like and comment if you wish. And until next time, just a final little zoom in on these guys. I will catch you later.